Hey, welcome back to Trucks. Well, I think it's safe to say by now that we and the rest of the automotive world have proved the superiority of synthetic lubricants over conventional. As a matter of fact, the guys over at Horsepower have shown us that on their chassis dyno, you can actually free up more horsepower just by switching to synthetic lubricants.
Now, way back in the 1930s, engineers developed a test to determine a lubricant's film strength and at which point it fails. It's called a Falix test. And today, Royal Purple wants to use that test to prove something to us.
So today, Patrick Burris is here to show us some of the differences between conventional spray lubricants and synthetic spray lubricant. Patrick, tell us a little bit about what we're using to compare these products.
This is a Falix test machine. It uses a 1/4 horsepower electric motor. The motor rotates the shaft. We have an amp meter that measures amp draw, and we have an arm to apply our weights, which will apply pressure to a stationary bearing.
Now, Patrick here's a lifelong gearhead, just like we are. He's been in motorsports his whole life, and if his face looks familiar, you've probably seen him before on television. Now, you've done this test thousands of times. Walk us through this. What are we doing?
We're going to take samples of our aerosol lubricants. We're going to place them in this cup so we can lubricate them on the rotating bearing and apply pressure to the stationary bearing to see how well they perform under a load.
Now, we wanted to keep this test about synthetic versus conventional, so we covered up the labels on all the conventional spray lube cans. Each 2-pound weight that's added to the lever arm adds 75 pounds of force to the bearing. And even with the bearing spinning in the conventional lube oil bath, well, that force is all it takes to bring that motor to a screeching halt. The amp meter shows how hard the motor has to work to keep the bearing spinning. And it's pretty easy to tell when the lubricant fails. Now, with each new test, a brand new stationary bearing is used. And so far, it's only taken 3 weights to find the film strength failure point of the conventional spray lubes. After 4 conventional lubricant tests, Patrick cleans and fills the machine with Max Film synthetic spray lube. Now, just like the other tests, after the 3rd weight is applied, the amp draw increases a bit. But following that, the amp draw is reduced and the bearing continues to rotate. And to really prove the point, Patrick completely removes the oil bath and lets it run dry. He even adds 2 more weights.
Now, that is impressive. So tell me in terms that I can understand what the difference is.
Max Film leaves a dry film lubricant behind. That's why the machine continued to run even though we had taken the oil away from the bearing surface.
So even when the oil is gone, the dry film lubricant stays on the contact area.
That is correct.
Well, there you go. One more good reason to choose a synthetic lubricant over conventional. How long will this keep going?
How long do you want it to run? Want to go have lunch?
Yeah, let's go.